It's the Christmas Eve full moon, December 24th, 2015. Just a bit before 6 o'clock in the evening, Eastern Time. Shining out over Alum Creek here. Going to be going to church here later tonight. Read in church with my judge friend. Then read again on Christmas Day. Beautiful evening. Hello, YouTubers. Merry Christmas on this fine December 25th, 2015. Here at 13:50 in the afternoon, Eastern Time. How'd you like that full moon last night? Coming up, reflecting in Alum Creek. That was very pretty. I thought that was a wonderful thing to be able to sort of capture before we went up to the, well, traditionally they say it's midnight service, but the singing starts at 10:30 and the service starts at 11 o'clock at night. And it joint finishes somewhere between 12:30 and 1 o'clock in the morning. So I guess it is midnight. What I think, for lack of a better title, I'll call this video Adventures in Liturgical Deconstruction. That'll be a title that will have them clicking on, won't they? Huh? They'll be clicking right onto that one. It's very interesting. Well, it's interesting to me because I get very involved in this stuff. But now, to all intents and purposes, let's sort of look at let's look at some documents. I like documents. Here's a service bulletin from today, Christmas Day. Here's a service bulletin from last night, Christmas Eve night. Now, pay no attention to the cover because, they can stick the same cover on things year after year after year. And, gosh, I got something itching in my eye. But anyway, the thing is what's inside them. Now, I had been I was told by people that I know that the service bulletins for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day were going to be the same. Well, that's almost accurate. That's an almost accurate statement. Allow me to elaborate. So you see, this says December 24th, 10:35 p.m. Oh, 10:35 p.m. Oh, that's an interesting little thing. I see. You just keep noticing things. Okay. Now, we have here a psalm to be sung to simplified Anglican chant. It's like da 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 da, and that encompasses 2 verses, and you sort of chant. So it'd be like, sing to the Lord a new song, for he has done marvelous things. With the right hand in his holy arm has he won for himself the victory. The Lord has made known his victory. His righteousness has he openly shown to the sights of the nations. That's simplified Anglican chant. And it goes on, and every 2 verses it alternates. It's set, it repeats. Now, okay, sing to the Lord a new song, for he has done marvelous things. Okay, that's the first verse of this Psalm 96. Now, I'll give you a little spoiler alert. That's actually the first verse of Psalm 98. And the rest of this 10-verse psalm it ends over here on this page 10, in the righteousness shall he judge the world and the people with equity. That's the ending of Psalm 98. But see, typically, the second lay reader will lead the psalm if it's not being sung. Meaning, there's various ways you can do it. You can have the congregation alternate verses or read it in unison or whatever. Now, admittedly, it's printed in the service bulletin. Okay. But what I do, since my eyes are getting, somewhat dim and it's kind of hard to see, the smaller print up on the lectern, is I print these things up in large print. Now, see, this says Psalm 96. Sing the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord all the whole earth. Oh, that's slightly different, isn't it? But it sounds remarkably alike. I mean, if you're just, if you're taking people's word for things, you think, oh, okay. So, sing the Lord a new song for he's done marvelous thing in the service bulletin. First verse of Psalm 96, for real. Sing the Lord a new song, sing the Lord all the whole earth. Psalm 96 and Psalm 98 sound remarkable. I mean, they read remarkably alike. Obviously, they're different. They're differences, but they're essentially making the same theological point at that point in the as in Psalm cycle. So last night when we sang it, you sang it. You sang what was in the bulletin. Now this morning, Christmas Day, it fell to me to lead the psalm. Well, I stand up there and I'm reading from my big print prepared text. Alternate verses. Me's first verse, congregation second verse, me's third verse, congregation fourth verse, and so forth. Well, much to my surprise, what they were saying, for the second verse, didn't match what I had on my materials. So I had Henry Shaw just hand me his bulletin, and we went through it from there. But it was interesting. I didn't, I thought, oh, this is something new today, this morning. No, it was there last night as well. I just didn't catch it last night because it didn't, the way the service was done last night, wouldn't have become apparent unless you had a reason to actually be, standing up there making a fool of yourself. That's adventures in liturgy. Last night we actually, we used incense. We had a thurifer and we used incense. And, the smoke was wafting up to heaven. Particularly during the gospel. I mean, this is the first time I remember, they went down and they sensed the gospel book. I was crucifer as well as lay reader. And I was down there. I kind of like the incense, actually. But, as the smoke wafts up toward the roof and the choir loft, and turns out it wafts up to the central smoke detector at the top of this roof, which is fairly high roof. It's probably about a 30-foot high ceiling. And the smoke alarm went off, the fire alarm went off, which notifies the Delaware City Fire Department. And that bastard's loud. I mean, it is loud. And, there was, Terry Hyland paused in the reading of the Gospel, which was John 1, in the NRSV version, which is just passable. Well, I'm not going to get going on that today, afternoon. But he then chose to just keep, soldier on, raised his voice and soldiered on. And meanwhile, one of the members of the congregation who knew where all the bodies were buried, he went out and he reset the alarm. Well, people kept waiting for the fire department to show up, but they didn't. Surprisingly, they didn't. Although we learned one, the smoke alarm works. I mean, really does work. And the fire department didn't show up, which is because we had it was set off by a smoky, greasy cooking situation about 2 or 3 years ago, and the fire department did show up at that point. But it didn't happen during the gospel. Okay, so that was, But, I got thinking about it, we've used incense, several, we don't use it every week. We don't even use it necessarily on the major feasts, always. But we've never gone down into the central aisle there and had the stuff go right straight up underneath the actual sensing device for the smoke alarm. And I think that's what did it. I will say this Highland fellow covered itself very. He went into this whole thing about you were able to hear the gospel over the drone of this noise, and people should be able to hear the gospel over the drone of modern life and idolatry and covetousness and all that stuff. And that was a very nice little save there, I thought. And okay, that was last night. Now just the Eucharistic prayer we used last night. Well, what we used and what was printed was different. Now, see, here's the responses. Christ has died, Christ has risen, Christ will come again. That's in Eucharistic prayer A. Now, admittedly, it wasn't headed Eucharistic prayer A. What he used was Eucharistic prayer B. Well, since most people know the responses to the various Eucharistic prayers, people give the appropriate response. But I'm thinking, wait a minute. Why do we even bother? Why do we even bother printing this stuff out? So this morning, you pretty much can see that what happened when I stood up to lead the psalm was what I just basically told you, and then he also used the Eucharistic prayer B again. I don't think this is primarily this man's fault. If fault's even an appropriate word. I think we're having a certain amount of copying and pasting problem out, over in the office, maybe. Anyway. Makes for a good story. Well, it's a good story for me, anyway. the funny thing about it is, I mean, I should have recognized, this Psalm 96 thing right away, because here's evening prayer in the 1662 Book of Common Prayer. That's the one I quite often use in the evening when I go to bed. And that's Psalm 90. That's Psalm 98. That's Psalm 98. So I should have recognized the opening line of that immediately and realized that I should have gone up to the lectern with my program. Well, I didn't actually have a program. Come to think of it. And I thought, I don't need a program because it's the same one from last night. And I was Psalm 96 last night. Said so right up the top. Adventures in Liturgy. All right. I belabored that point. So, got home here and sort of heading into the afternoon. And I'll say, I think on that note, I'm going to say bye-bye, YouTube.